Let's get so, baby. Talking some Florida State defense. Look, this group is just good. I mean, there's no other way around it. They have some hog mollies up front, and they have a defensive coordinator in Adam Fuller who made some good adjustments to their run defense because, as you'll see a little bit later in this film study, you'll see a few times where Duquesne did a really good job of getting this really talented defensive line off balance. And we're going to mention this a lot in this film study. Florida State does run a traditional four-man even front, okay? Now, there's a lot of teams, especially at the high school level, but at the college level as well, that has gone strictly to an odd front, a three-man front. But Florida State, for the most part, they're going to have four defensive linemen in three-point stances. And what's very interesting was this is as traditional as it's going to ever look, right? You have a defensive end, you have a defensive tackle in the three technique on the outside shoulder of the guard, and you have your big guy right here, one of your big playmakers. This is Lovett, their Mason Smith, in this A-gap, okay? And you also have this defensive end over here, and you have these linebackers. So this is a light box. These are six guys in the box. We have got six guys to block them. We have got to be able to defend this. Now, Adam Fuller knows this, that in terms of numbers, they have a hat on a hat here. They have six guys to block six of our defenders. So pre-snap, you're thinking this linebacker is responsible for this B gap and Lovett is responsible for the A gap. Instead, they swap, okay? And what makes this really tricky here is you see Lovett intentionally has a slow fire off the football right here. Okay, so as an offensive lineman, you're thinking, okay, we got him. I mean, we got them. But you don't, okay? That late fire off, now 15 is coming guns a-blazing, and this H-back, this tight end, has no idea who to block, and we get 15 right through, and you see it's too late. And now Lovett's right there getting penetration on this guard, who's going to be an insurance salesman here in a few years, and this is a really good play.
Inside size, at the defensive tackle position, they're not a group that's getting moved off the football. And they rotate them in. They can go too deep, inside, out. They've got some new players playing off the edge. They lost some, talented edge players, but there's still athleticism on the edge. But I would say that it starts inside out with their defensive line, which allows the linebackers to run.
So normally with even fronts, you don't think of them as being exotic, but they can be. Now, this right here is really good offense, but really terrible protection, okay? We get what we want, a quarterback taking advantage of a one-on-one matchup right here, and we draw a pass interference penalty. I know the camera angle isn't the best, but he did pull on the receiver's back. 20 made a good play on the football, but this is, once again, their defensive tackles making plays, okay? The toughest position to block in the modern college game, especially knowing there's so many good three-technique defensive tackles, is the three-technique defensive tackle, especially if you're in a one-on-one situation, okay? But what happens here is this three-tech goes to the A-gap, this defensive end goes to the B-gap, and this nickel right here, Jamie Robinson, we're going to talk about him a lot, is coming off the edge. So we got one-on-ones across the way, all right? So the center gets blown up right here, right through the A-gap, good swim move over the top, and we are getting our three technique, or the defensive end, with a ton of pressure right here as well, okay? The worst type of pressure to give up is A-gap pressure, okay? The center has got to do a better job right here holding up this A-gap, all right? And the reason why those A-gaps are important is, especially if Jayden Daniels is going to be your quarterback, he's really good at reading a pass rush lane and running for big-time yards. You cannot escape direct A-gap pressure like that. So, poor job right here by the center, but the quarterback sits in there, throws a really good ball right here, and we're able to draw a pass interference penalty, okay? So, good throw, good play by the DB as well. I wasn't able to really see it, but a very interesting rep. So Florida State secondary, one thing I really saw them do a great job of in this first game is they did a good job of communicating, okay? So once this guy goes in motion, 3 picks him up, and then 3 sees that this is a run right here, so he automatically checks to being the contained defender. What was very interesting was in this game, they were able, Duquesne, to get some good jet sweep motion, and they were able to get the edge. You'll see a play here in just a second. It wasn't out of a jet sweep motion, but they were able to get the corner. So if this ball was actually handed here to 3, he's probably getting this corner right here, okay? And we're running for a big gain. So we're able to get the contain right here. We had a little inside stunt right here from the defensive end, and that helped generate pressure. But just look at 91. I mean, Lovett and Cooper are 2 really good defensive tackles. And yes, these offensive linemen are going to be bricklayers here in a few years. But, I mean, look at that. That's just incredible stuff right there, okay? And, you know, that's just blowing a play up. Okay, once again, I want you to see what good football IQ looks like. This is as good as it gets right here from 10, all right? Their pre-snap motion, Jammie Robinson, and what they're trying to do is get him chasing back and forth. But you notice Jammie Robinson sees what they're trying to do. So he's not even looking at the receiver. He's making a coverage adjustment call, okay? And this is where I'm going to bring in a new term. It is a little bit more advanced, but it's called MEG, okay? So MEG stands for man everywhere he goes, okay? So, yes, Jammie Robinson is in man coverage versus 8, but it's not a MEG call. If this were a MEG call, what man everywhere he goes means is your man pre-snap, anywhere he goes, you remain in man-to-man coverage. But that is not the case here. What Jammie Robinson does here is he knows that 8 is more than likely going to attack the flats. So what does he do? He changes the call, and now this player who's guarding this wide receiver is now picking up 8, and Jammie Robinson picks him up. So this wasn't a Meg situation, okay? This was a situation where Jammie Robinson picks up his man, and your man is now 8, okay? That is an excellent, excellent job right there by the secondary, okay? Now, the throw sucked, but you know, if this ball is accurately thrown and on time, you have a situation here where you can beat this guy man-to-man. But because the call was made so well, 3 was able to see it out, and he would have had to make an open field tackle right here, which he does, but the throw was bad. But it was all Jammie Robinson, number 10. I'm telling you. Where's my stupid freaking pen? How am I going to do my show without my pen? I got to have my pen. There's my pen. Kind of want to give this out. Odell rookie. But anyway. And, you know, I know they lost Johnson, their best player, their defensive end. But you could see that this is a experienced defense that does communicate a lot. You know, first thing is that they do play a traditional 4-down front. They don't really play much standing outside linebacker. This is a gap sound 4-man defensive line. And, you know, I talked to play callers quite a bit about this, and it's amazing how many of them prefer to call plays against an even front, right? And that's as even as it gets, you know, just your typical 4-man front. And what an even front means is you're every time having 4 down linemen on pretty much every play. And where I think you can really get people and teams that do that kind of alignment is stuff like this, right? Pre-snap motion and getting very creative on first down, right? Because on first down, they're probably going to be in, you know, a typical base look. This is your, you know, once this defensive back is running with this guy, that's letting you know it's man coverage. So right here on this play, we are showing zone blocking to the right, and this looks like it's going to be a handoff to the right. The defensive line is playing this to the right, but we are running basically an underneath handoff here to the left, and the key here is to make sure you can break the contained defender, okay? And we fool this contained defender right here, and the backer was fooled by this action as well. And look at all this space, okay? That is excellent, excellent stuff. And I was talking about this recently. We do, everybody that signs up for Patreon, I talk to them one-on-one if they opt to do that. And on a few calls, we have chatted about, attacking open space. The great offensive minds are able to do that. Okay, I know it's blurry, but this is the very next drive. And guess what we're doing again, okay? We're running to the right, but the running back does a good job. And I think this is, now that I look at it again, I think this is actually by design. We're showing a run to the right again, but it's an automatic cut back to the left, okay? Backside defensive end loses contain. Defensive end does a good job. The left tackle does a good job keeping him to the inside. And once again, look at all this space, okay? Now we need you to break this one-on-one tackle right here. We do just that, and we're getting to the edge and getting a nice chunk of yardage here. So I do think there are some pockets of space that Denbrock will be able to attack. Right there, though, it did take a really nice play right there by the running back. So here we are again. We are rotating and motioning our tight end to be the inside lead blocker right here. So we're running to the edges. We are starting to get them going side to side. So now what are we going to do? We actually are going to run this ball to the right. And look at this movement right here. Really good double right here. 55 is able to turn this player to the inside and work second level. Okay, our tight end gets a nice block right here on 46. And look at all of this room to run through. The only problem is our running back tripped up right here. He missed a big opportunity to potentially hit this hole right here, but he's still able to bang it up in there and get a first down. Lots of yards left on the field right there. So here we are again, and now we are running this football to the right again, but this time we're pulling people, okay? Now, this was unbelievable stuff right there by number 6. I mean, this could not have been played any better, right? He takes on this guard and boom. Okay, he doesn't wrong arm him. He just two gaps him. He boxes him, and look, he just eats this hole and pushes the guard right back into the running back and forces it to bounce. Really good stuff right there by 6, who is a very, very thick and talented defensive end, and we get a good stop, or we don't get good yardage here on first down. So they stay in their 4-down alignment, but when they decide to go dime or nickel, if you will, they do something honestly pretty exotic, right? Number 10, who I think is their best player, Jammie Robinson, who is very experienced, former 3-star recruit out of Georgia, started his career at South Carolina, now with Florida State. He is the straw that stirs the drink, okay? He makes all the calls in the secondary, and I was really impressed with how well this Florida State defense communicated with each other, okay? Boom! I'm looking at you. Yes, you right now. So, I know you've already subscribed. I know you've already rang the bell. I know you've already taken advantage of all our free content, including the brand new PHL podcast. Are you freaking kidding me? And, of course, we have the Patreon, right, where you can support me, and there are so many perks, including our Fantasy Football League, where you can win a Tyrann Mathieu Gold Auto Rookie. I don't like giving out my Tyrann Mathieu collection, but I'm doing it just for our PHL Fantasy Football patrons, so make sure you check that out. So I went on ahead and ran the play in the background, and there is a lot, and I mean a lot, to break down here. Let's get to it. Let's go. So you want to see what football sidelines are like? Look at this. You can play for Scott Frost with that vomit. I think he was just spitting, but still. All right, so let's talk a little bit about football philosophy, because on this drive, we've been showing them runs to the outside and runs to the inside, and then they finally stuff it. So what we're going to do on this 2nd and long is spread them out, and we go 5 wide receivers, okay? Now, this is where I love what Duquesne does right here, okay? Going 5 wide in this scenario is actually really, really, really smart, because I do think empty sets, which for those that don't know what empty means 5 wide receiver sets. You are, in theory, empty back here with no personal protector outside of the quarterback. Why do I like 5 wide receiver sets? I love it in particular when we're going up against a 4-down line rush, okay? And the reason why that's the case is that it is really hard to do any form of exotic blitz out of this look, okay? So the quarterback knows that these 5 guys have a good idea of what these 4 guys are going to do. Something else the quarterback is able to see is they are in too high. And what does too high mean? That means there are 2 high safeties. You don't see them on the screen, but if you do a quick count right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 guys. So there's 2 guys deep. And with the safeties being that far back here, close to the snap of the football, that means that it is nearly impossible for this slot corner to blitz, okay? So if that's the case, this quarterback knows that he is going to have time. He also sees that it's pretty tight right here across the way. Now, this corner does eventually bail out, but the QB actually makes a mistake. Remember, you as an offense should attack space. And I, as an offensive play caller, when they give me all this green grass in the middle of the field, I am licking my chops. They can't really blitz out of this. If they do bring this guy, we should throw to this receiver hot. They don't. But right when the quarterback snaps the football, he is immediately going to this comeback route. And we're just going to go ahead and play this out. You'll see we're playing pitch and catch. The corner backed out, and we get an easy completion here for a first down. So we get back here to the snap of the football, and right here, something very crazy happens. The nickel right here, number 10, JAMMIE Robinson, normally the safety, decides to come over and double this receiver. So when that happens, guess what? The middle of the field is even more wide open here. Also, I would be looking at this slant anyway, knowing that the middle of the field is going to be open. So if I'm Denbrock and I see that they're going to bracket this guy or leave wide open slants to the middle of the field, maybe you get this look, maybe you don't. I'm taking this all day, every day. Now, what's very interesting is this safety was crashing down, but if they're that far back, if I'm throwing this ball to Jack Bech or Malik Neighbors, I'm trusting them to catch it and making this guy miss, and then we're one-on-one versus this safety right here for a touchdown. This is still a good option, and we are able to pick up the first down, but you see what spreading them out there in that 4-down alignment can do, right? Number one, if you're in that 4-down alignment, it's tough to get really exotic with your blitzes. And then number 2, yes, you're an empty, you only have 4 protectors, but, you could get the middle of the field open in that case. And obviously, there can always be a defensive tackle that zone blitzes out. Florida State might show that and not have shown any zone blitzes on film for that reason, but it is very interesting. And Denbrock does do a good job overall as a play caller, mixing up his personnel grouping. So first thing is obviously, was the slant open over the middle for an easy pitch and catch? Yes, but still, this was a very good play in the passing game. And we did a good job, Duquesne did a good job of showing different looks, keeping them off balance, and that's where they had success. And I felt like Duquesne's coaching job, I thought their coaches did a good job overall up to a point, and we're going to get to that here in just a second. So you want to know why 10's a really good player? They're trying to run these deep routes here. Obviously they are playing back. I mean, this is really difficult to throw this football into this space, but there was space to throw into. And look at this play right here by Robinson. Sticks his hand in there and just makes that play. He is a really, really good football player. You can see it right here, okay? This throw is not really that bad, okay? He honestly just punched this thing. Look at this. That's just some really good ball skills. Boom! Looking at you. Yes, you. Right now. Okay? So, look, I'm always very open with my breakdowns. Remember, I have the same amount of NFL experience as probably most of you watching this video. So I am not a high-level coach or player. You can have your own evaluations and your own opinions about something, but I do have a pet peeve that I have to share, and I saw it under one of my videos last week. But the truth is, and I want you to see the level of scared, like, oh my God, what did I get myself into? What is going on here? I do like the eye black, man, a little icebox action for you little Giants fans out there. But this drives me insane, okay? Well, so-and-so only had a half a sack, and the defensive line didn't really generate all that many sacks, and their numbers weren't all that great. Well, yeah, that means they're getting a lot of pressure sometimes, right? Perfect example. One of the best Super Bowl performances I have ever seen was Michael Bennett in a losing effort versus Tom Brady, but he only had 2 tackles, but he made constant pressure in Brady's face. He just got rid of the ball right before he was getting hit, okay? And that is what happened a lot. Florida State's defensive line got a lot of pressure on Duquesne, and what they do, and this is going to be a big challenge. I showed you the face of that center. Gary Dellinger is going to be in a few spots just like that. Remember, this is a guy who has never really played center before, whose first game at center is going to be against 2 really experienced defensive tackles. But here's what makes this play really interesting, is that these are actually their backups, and you'll see that these guys are able to generate pressure as well. So what they want to do, Florida State, is generate one-on-one opportunities with their defensive line versus their offensive line. Florida State trusts this defensive line to make plays on their own. So what do? Well, they fake bringing a blitz to hold this center, right? So now this center can't double on this DT, and this center can't double on this DT. And it looks at first like this protection is good. But no, number 99, his name slips my mind, just throws a guard off of him, and he's getting pressure right down the gut, okay? Now you notice the quarterback just kind of fades into this throw and doesn't just fully step in to this, okay? Look at how short this step is into this throw because he sees this guy right there, okay? You want to plant and fire, especially a throw like this one that you're trying to squeeze into this tight space. But he doesn't really step into it because he sees number 99 breathing down his neck. So that doesn't count as a sack, but it's a pressure, right? So quit using sacks as the be-all, end-all, okay? Maybe over the course of a year, sacks and tackles for loss could tell you a story, but sometimes, especially if you're a defensive tackle, if you're getting pressure right up the gut, the quarterback's going to get rid of the ball because he doesn't want his brains to get blown in, right? But I will talk about on this play right here one major philosophical thing that could put Brian Kelly ahead of the SEC, and one thing I think Lane Kiffin is ahead, especially in the SEC West, on when it comes to just basic football philosophy. He is ahead of the market. He is buying Apple stock early, okay? And that is 4th down decision making. Now, I know a lot of you are wondering, well, this was 3rd and 9, and this is exactly what I'm talking about, right? What people don't quite grasp is your 3rd down play calling is heavily affected by your 4th down play calling, and I think this is the one thing that affects offensive play callers the most, especially if the offensive play caller isn't the head coach, right? If I, as an OC, know that my head coach is uber conservative on 4th down, that means on 3rd and long in plus territory, it cuts your playbook in half and you become very predictable because the defense isn't going to let you run 9-yard routes. Now let's get into what all of that actually means. Alrighty, so this is 3rd and 9, and it's hard to gain 9 yards on any play. In particular, a play where the defense knows what you're going to do, okay? One of the best plays in football is all verticals, and that is what we run. The issue, though, is you don't want to run all verticals when they're playing back, right? When they're in quarters or some variation of that.
That's going to play some man coverage. They do play a lot of quarters, but in their quarters, it becomes matchup man. So a team that has the athletes to match you up
too high or whatever, it's extremely hard to pick up all the yards, especially if you're running all verts, and that is exactly what Duquesne decides to do, okay? This is an awful play call right here because they are waiting for it. But why did they call all verticals? Because the offensive play caller knew on 3rd and 9 that I have to get all of the yards, okay? I see so many offensive play callers get this wrong, okay? So what you'll see here is, I don't know if this had to pertain to this, but you see the head coach right here and maybe the play caller right here. There is some confusion and some discomfort here. So I'm going to go ahead and spoil it for you. Duquesne actually does the stupidest thing I think I've seen here, and they try to attempt a long field goal down by 20, okay? A low percentage field goal with a meh field goal kicker in rainy-ish conditions. So we're talking about a wet ball here. And even if you make this low percentage field goal here, you are still down by 3 possessions. So why aren't you playing this as if this is a 2-down roll? Okay? Too many coaches right here, all or nothing this thing right here. And that isn't smart. You don't want to do that. You want to run some variation of route combinations that give you intermediate types of things, right? And honestly, the protection here actually is fine, okay? It's not the absolute best. They are getting some pressure, but it is Duquesne, and they were getting just manhandled in the trenches all game. Okay, so, I mean, at least it's a semi-decent pocket to get this throw off. I don't know why the receiver decided to undercut this. Maybe that is pass interference right there. It probably is. But Seven does a good job high pointing the football and batting that away. So why is that important? Well, this actually doesn't pertain to Duquesne, right? This pertains to the SEC West. And I think, I felt Lane Kiffin was a little too aggro on 4th down, but Ed Orgeron was definitely too conservative. But the times he was aggressive were really bad decisions. Versus Alabama late in the 4th quarter, he should have kicked the field goal. And early versus Ole Miss, he should have kicked the field goal, especially if Max Johnson is a bad 4th down quarterback. But right here at this portion of the field, especially considering Cade York is no longer our field goal kicker, we'll see what the new kicker is like. But our kicker isn't as good. We need to know in that portion of the field on 3rd and 8 and 3rd and 9 that we need to set ourselves up for a manageable 4th down. Because, number one, if you run a shorter route, that doesn't mean you're not going to break a tackle and pick up the yards anyway. Number two, we know the defense is going to play off. A lot of times teams do like to blitz in that situation and get you out of field goal range if you get a sack, and to potentially get you to not go for it on 4th down. A lot of teams will blitz right there. But in that situation, you as a coach need to think of it as a 2-down situation. And this isn't really an LSU thing. This is just a macro thing. And what makes it very interesting is the SEC West. I know we think of Lane Kiffin as aggro on 4th down. What's really interesting is the SEC West is full of coaches that are very conservative on 4th down, right? Sam Pittman, to his fault, was probably a little too conservative in critical moments on 4th down. Texas A&M was amongst the country's more conservative 4th down play callers, as was Alabama, right? And I think Brian Harsin at times made some really good 4th down calls. He did against us in a big moment last year. But I don't know. I didn't look at Auburn's numbers really all that much. But those schools are very conservative in nature on 4th down. So what does that mean? Well, if LSU is aggressive on 4th down, which analytically is the smarter thing to do, you want to, in as many cases as you can, avoid kicking the football, whether that be field goals or punts. If you take advantage of those scenarios, you're going to win more games. I think the aggressive teams in the long term will do better. Now, once again, you can get too aggressive, but right there, especially if you have guys like Jack Besh who can break tackles and make things happen over the middle, throw it short. Do something else. Don't run all verts because they're just going to be sitting there waiting for it, right? So it is very, very, very important to keep all of that in mind.
When we make a decision on the kicker, we're all in. We're all in on we're not going to change the way we operate the game and protect anybody. We're going to look. I like to use analytics in the game. We'll have somebody with an analytic book just so everybody knows. So when we second guess the head coach later, you guys can, and that's your opportunity. And you're right to do that. But I use the book, and sometimes I use my gut.
Boom! I'm looking at you. Yes, you right now. So one thing that we did not see from Florida State versus Duquesne, and it made a lot of sense as to why they didn't show this, but you are going to see this, is zero blitz looks, right? Crowding the line of scrimmage and just outnumbering people to get pressure on the quarterback. And this right here was a perfect play call. Desmond Ridder to the tight end here, or the slot receiver, kind of hard to tell. But what I want to do is actually talk about this game, right? So much has been made leading into this game about Brian Kelly playing Florida State in the season opener over the past couple of seasons, right? And Brian Kelly's familiarity with them and Florida State in those season openers. So, yes, BK has played Norvell in back-to-back weeks. But I think actually this game right here will tell us a little bit more about the matchups here because, as many of you know, Mike Denbrock is the former offensive coordinator of Memphis. But even more so, when you actually think about this game philosophically, this was a bigger game for Mike Norvell and Adam Fuller. He was the head coach, and Adam Fuller was the defensive coordinator of this Memphis Tigers unit. And the truth is, they probably don't get the Florida State job if they don't beat Cincinnati in this spot. More on that in just a second. So, right here, it is 3rd and 8. We got to get 8 yards. But Mike Denbrock does a very smart thing. He knows that they're going to be playing off right here. He also knows that in this situation, it's hard to pick up all the yards, kind of like what you just saw a minute ago with Duquesne. So what do? Especially if they give you a zero look such as this? Well, you run 3 vertical routes, but give our guy, Desmond Ridder, remember, this is Desmond Ridder in 2019. He wasn't really that good for Cincinnati. You see, they have an unblocked blitzer, but they pick it up pretty well, right? We want to give up outside pressure. We had 6 guys blocking their 7, so this is what we want. We want this guy coming unblocked away from the direction that we are trying to throw this football. And watch this. We're running a vertical route here, running a vertical route here, running a vertical route here. And look, this vertical route helped create traffic for this guy to get open right here in the flats. LSU actually did a lot of this in the spring game versus man coverage. They did a lot of good things, getting open completions, easy pitching catches for Nuss, Jayden, and the rest of the quarterbacks. And that is a really well-designed play on 3rd and 8. But something really fascinating happened later on this drive. So I'm going to be honest with you. I watched a good bit of this game. Cincinnati did more to lose it than Memphis did to win it. And one thing Desmond Ridder did not do a good job of was completing passes outside the numbers. There are so many of these wide open throws that he just flat out missed. And there was actually 3 outside the numbers that were wide open throws in this quarter alone that he missed. And that is what they're going to force Jayden Daniels to do. They are going to play off our receivers, and they are going to force them to complete the football outside the numbers. They're really going to test Jayden's intermediate game. So once again, Ridder missed a lot in this first quarter. A lot. And Memphis kind of got a fluky long touchdown run from Antonio Gibson on a few broken tackles. But you see the protection breaks down here, and Ridder misses this receiver on this vertical route. We were able to get over the top right here with 21, and we just missed that shot. So even if they're playing off, you can get behind them. But, there was another drop. I'm not going to show it. It was so egregiously bad later in the quarter. Memphis, Cincinnati just really, really crapped the bed here. So here we go. We are in the near exact same spot that we were a minute ago, but instead of 3rd and 8, it is 3rd and 10, and we are in plus territory. So now we have more of an impetus to go for it on 4th down. But I haven't looked at Luke Fickell's 4th down percentages. I do know he had an uber conservative punt in a big spot versus Georgia, and I think it actually cost him the bowl game. But still, it's the same thing, all right? All out, zero blitz. And I think they're going to try and do this versus Jayden Daniels. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys. We got 6 guys to block it. And who do we want? Once again, I'm just asking you, wherever you're watching this right now, which one of these blitzers do we want to leave unblocked, okay? And while you're coming up with the answer to that, I hope you hit the like button. I hope you subscribe and ring the bell. We will be in downtown New Orleans doing a show from Stumpy's, so we hope to see you before the game. I'll be hanging out there pretty much all day, so please hit me up if you are coming. So here we go. We get this, and boom. This is the guy that we want to leave unblocked, right? The outermost guy away from where we're trying to throw the football, or just in general, you want the outermost guy. So look at this blitz pickup. That's really good. I mean, you can't do this any better. So the offensive line does their job. But what is the issue here? We're running very vertical routes, okay? We're running routes as if we're trying to pick up all 10 of the yards here, and Adam Fuller takes advantage of that, right? If I, as a DC, know that the head coach is conservative on 4th down, I know on these 3rd and 8 to 3rd and 9, 10s, 11s, that they're going to try and pick up all the yards. And guess what? It works. The gamble pays off, right? Now, you will see that it wasn't all verts per se. 2 does actually run a deeper out right here. But you see, I want you to see, this guy is already here. You can't protect this any better. He's not even out of his break here. There's no way Ritter could have let that go at this point, okay? And then also, something else that LSU could take advantage of is the QB draw game, right? And we'll get into a few more play calls I think that will work, because if they're going to run a lot of this man coverage stuff, QB draws will work if they're playing man coverage, because if for some reason Ritter could have gotten through this, look at all this room for him to run. So that's nearly impossible right there in that spot. So, Mike a minute ago made a really good call on a 3rd and medium, right, versus that zero blitz look, right? And for those that don't know, I feel like it is important to clear this up. What a zero coverage means, or cover zero, is that there's no safety help, right? It is man on man on man on man, okay? You want to 2 down it, right? Like Brian Kelly said a minute ago with the analytics, right there, you want to make that a medium 4th down situation, right? Number one, you could kick a very, 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 very long field goal, but that's probably still a little bit out of Ramos's range. I think as long as 55 yards, according to his recruiting profile. Or you could set up for a manageable 4th down. And, 4th and 5, 4th and 4s, even if you don't want to go for it, you can get a hard count, get a free 1st down, and just take the penalty and then punt it if that's what you want to do, and play it a little bit more conservatively. But, you always want to keep all of those factors in mind. And look, maybe, just maybe, Mike Denbrock didn't think that on back-to-back 3rd downs they would go all-out blitz and play cover zero on back-to-back plays, but that is exactly what they did. So it's very interesting. Now, you'll see it right here. God, that's just really, really good blitz pickup right there. Alrighty, so let's put a bow on this. And I know this kind of looks weird with this game in the background, but something very strange happened this year. So Cincinnati played Memphis in actually back-to-back weeks, okay? Remember a minute ago I said keep in mind this game right here? Well, Memphis actually beat Cincinnati twice in a row. And I know this is going to come off a little bit sour grapes, but I don't really care about Cincinnati. I'm not a fan of theirs, really. But this is just the truth. I went back and watched both of these games, and Memphis got lucky, right? They had a special teams touchdown in this one. They had some really good explosive play luck in both games. And honestly, Cincinnati left a lot of points and yards on the field in both games. But I'm not focused on that. My major point, though, is this is, and this honestly blows my mind here, and this gives you a lot of hope as an LSU fan. If you look really closely, that is not Desmond Ridder at quarterback. That is actually the backup, Ben Bryant. And the strange thing about it was the offensive output in back-to-back weeks was about the same. So Mike Denbrock, with two different quarterbacks, actually put together a pretty good game. So, you know, you look at over 400 yards of total offense. That doesn't look all that great, but this was amongst some of Memphis's worst defensive performances. This defense was really, really good, and Adam Fuller is a very well-respected defensive coordinator, and Denbrock actually did a really good job in this game, mixing in some zone read, even with a backup quarterback who is not the same level of player and runner of Mike Denbrock. And honestly, I felt Mike did a really good job, especially considering the drops. And there were some blatant drops. I'm not going to show the one I was referencing earlier. It really was that bad. It would have been a walk-in touchdown. And as you see, Cincinnati had some protection issues in this game, and they were still able to move the football. This was just a well-designed play. There was a lot of pre-snap motion that helped confuse the Memphis defense, and we were able to get an explosive play right here. Now, what I'm going to show you next is going to be a massive key, right? Because Florida State knows where the strengths and the weaknesses of their defense lie. So what I'm going to do here is at the end of the video, I'm going to give you a few things that I think LSU is going to try to do to beat this Memphis Tigers team, okay? The first thing is pointing out the strengths of the Florida State defense. And for me, it is 0 and 91 up the middle, okay? Those two defensive tackles are really good players. We talked about them early. Defensive end Jared Verse, the transfer from Albany, looks to be a really good edge prospect, and that's going to be a difficult matchup in this first game for Will Campbell and Cam Wire. So, really good stuff. Also, 15 at the second level is good, and at the third level, Jamie Robinson, number 10, okay? Now, this is going to be a massive key, okay? Can you get these runs on first down with the zone read game? Obviously, really good run right here, and once again, that is zone read with not as fast of a quarterback. And reason why that's very important is, well, this means that, let's just say Jayden Daniels is struggling, Garrett Nussmeier can get the job done as well. And Denbrock proved with two different quarterbacks, once again, different situations, but one a more pocket quarterback and one more of a dual threat quarterback, he was able to get good plays going with this team. And that's really impressive. If you as a play caller can move the football with your starter and backup, that shows me a lot, okay? And then we get to the all these plays in succession. This goes back to what we were talking about outside the numbers, okay? And ironically, Ben Bryant transferred from Cincinnati, and now he's back at Cincinnati. He could be their guy now. But this is some of the stuff you heard a minute ago. Have you ever heard the term quarters coverage, cover four? That means that they're playing back, this corner's going back, this safety's going back, this safety's going back, and this corner's bailing. So think of it as quarters. You're responsible for that deep fourth of the field. So when they do that, the open space are going to be comeback routes, okay? This looks like a very simple throw, and it is, but you are throwing this ball from the opposite hash across the field. Some quarterbacks don't like making that throw, but you got to be able to do it if they're going to play off of you, right? So, you know, just to wrap things up here, I wanted to include that Denbrock did move the football with both 5 yards per play, which isn't really that good, but That was actually middle of the pack for how good that Memphis defense was. And the very next week, he had 6 yards per play, and that's featuring the explosive plays that that Ritter missed on the outside and a few deep drops in that game. So, I'm not going to – I had a few things cut up from, the Notre Dame games from the last couple of seasons where Jack Cohn honestly just played out of his mind. But here – at the end, let's go ahead and wrap this up. I know it's been a while. I appreciate all the Florida State fans that have come over. We really enjoyed it. And one thing LSU did a lot of in the spring game is run something called mesh. Now, I actually got a piece of a Brian Kelly playbook where he doesn't necessarily call it mesh, but it is a route concept that is very popular. I want to shout out the Florida State X's and O's. He's amazing. X's and Noles. I love a good pun. His favorite play is mesh, and Florida State actually started running it. It's more of a air raid staple, and I think LSU is going to play and run a lot of mesh. It's very good against man coverage, okay? You'll also, of course, see a lot of zone read from LSU in this game with Jayden Daniels, and I feel like that's going to be one of the more popular play calls, not only just because of Jayden's speed, but they actually practice a lot of zone read stuff just in the public viewing of practices. So keep that in mind. Also, something else from the X's and O's film account, last year, he did notice that the Florida State defense was amongst the nation's worst in stopping quarterback runs, right? More of a reason to play Jayden Daniels. And we talked about that in an earlier video from this week. You can check it out. And once again, we have the Zone Read Jayden Daniels film study on Patreon. Please sign up. It's a good way to help grow the channel, but you do get the Discord benefits. You do get into the Fantasy Football Tyron Matthew giveaway, and so on and so on. And you get a one-on-one Zoom call with yours truly. So we have that breakdown. But something else he noticed in his deep dives were that tight end and running back screens were or just throws in general, were a major weakness of the Florida State defense, okay? NC State has a tight end by the name of Trent Penix. His career best game came last year versus Florida State. So they struggled guarding backs out of the backfield. They struggled guarding tight ends. So that is something to keep in mind, all right? And the bottom line here is you got to be able to attack the edges, right? This is an inside-out built defense, right? You heard it from the man himself, Brian Kelly, who knows 10 times more about football than I do. That you can't move them in the middle. They are tough to move up the gut. 0 and 91 and 99, their backup. Those are some good tackle football players, right? And we do have a new center. So it is going to be very interesting. I thought Miles Frazier had a really good camp, and he, number 70 for LSU, has had some really good moments. I think that's going to be a very interesting matchup with him and Bradford. They're huge. They are good enough to move those bodies. And maybe it's going to be a little bit of, not necessarily a culture shock, but a little bit of a shock that last week you were going up against insurance salesmen. They're not future NFL players. This week, Miles Frazier and Anthony Bradford will play in the NFL, right? So it is a tougher matchup for them as well, but I'm telling you, Frazier and Cooper, 0-91, they're really good players. So you got to be able to attack the edges, all right? And, a few more things here. We've covered just about everything here. It's going to be interesting. I didn't talk too much about this. I am going to be very fascinated when Fuller decides to play man. Once again, I just have a tough time seeing him being aggressive with his corners in what could be their toughest wide receiver matchup of the year. If he does get aggressive and play press man, will his corners jam our wide receivers? I wouldn't give Kayshawn a free release, I know that much, but I think that he's going to have to if he decides to do that. So is he going to jam the wide receivers on the outside? Short yardage game is also going to be very interesting as well. This was a critical 4th and 1. And I don't know why people continue to tighten the line of scrimmage, especially us going up against a really good Florida State front. I prefer we keep them spread out, right? It's going to be tough for us to get in between those tackles. So, how much tight formation are we going to do? We shall see. And then, get deeper into philosophy here. How much 11 personnel versus 12 personnel are you going to use? What is your wide receiver rotation going to be like? As you can see, you could still keep peeling all these different layers of the onion, and you're just never, these are all the questions that the coaches and analysts are trying to put together right now. So we shall see what happens there. And Mike Denbrock will be calling the game from the booth. So one little extra nugget for you at the end. There's a lot that we didn't get to, and that's why we saved those for live stream. So we will have one final live stream on Thursday. More than likely, we will do one normally on our Saturday that we normally do, our normal Saturday night live stream. I could barely talk. So, yeah, make sure you are there for that, okay? Because it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm going to need you there. Comment down below your thoughts on today's video. We touched on a lot, but ironically, it's not everything. Like I mentioned, I cut a good bit of this out, some clips I had from, the Notre Dame game, games from the past couple of seasons. And once again, check it out, X's and Noles. They are, if you are a Florida State fan, if you've not watched him, he is really, really, really good. So let me know. It is Power Hour LSU. Boom. And tonight, awesome shrimp scamp night 2. Let's go.